Am I in the right spot? I need to wiggle a little bit.
Oh, you look so handsome. No, you look great, man. Right at the camera. Life is good. We got somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 minutes. So, the idea of this first show is that you hear Winston Churchill here. If you knew that Winston Churchill or the sitting president, Ronald Reagan, or whoever, wanted to come talk to you like on Wednesday night at your church, and he was coming, would you not clear your calendar? Would you not be in that audience to make sure that you had a chance? Because he not only was going to be there, but like you'll hear in this scene later from Winston Churchill, he wanted to know what the people thought because he was going to make decisions for England based on what they were going to tell him. And this scene from if you've never seen the movie, The Darkest Hour, is one of the most powerful scenes. It just gives you a sense of the power that these people had over the prime minister, but you essentially have that same kind of power with Jesus at all times. You just don't know
The darkest hour.
Yeah. It's called The Darkest Hour. It's a movie about Winston Churchill. Definitely one worth watching. But anyway, we're going to play a scene from it here shortly. And we got that clock, we got this clock, we got music, we got all sorts of stuff. We got stuff. And so yesterday we had this unbelievable call from this girl. I was doing Truth Talk Live all week. And so we had this girl that she, man, wait till you hear it. These people prayed for her.
Play her today.
Yeah, we're going to play the soundbite. These people prayed for her when she went to buy a lawnmower. They got down on their knees and they prayed. And listen to what happens, man. It's like, it just radically changed her life. You could hear her get totally choked up. She couldn't even talk. So, and something those people had that I honestly don't have. Like, they saw the need and they went down on their knees in the grass. You get this picture. She's going to buy a lawnmower. These people, they go down on their knees in the grass and pray for this girl. And how they knew that she didn't know Christ, I don't know. But at the end of this prayer, Kajingi, like, she hasn't been the same. You ought to hear it. It's just like wild. Like, I thought about it all night ever since she called. Like, man, these people had horsepower. And I've experienced that horsepower. I've had people pray for me, and I had the feeling that she's describing physically. I already knew Jesus had some sense of what I was reading and all that she's talking about. But I had cancer. I guess I was dying. I don't know. God knew. But this guy came and prayed for me. And I got that same, what she describes in this soundbite about this feeling coming over her body, I had that same feeling.
I might need headphones. What do you think?
You might. Yeah, because no, don't use them, losers. Those are head pictures, man.
Tones.
Yeah, those things, man.
That's forceps.
Sometimes they are like, I've made the mistake of, I don't know who bought those, but
they felt good at first.
Oh, they do until you're like, your ears start to feel. All right, we must be in the corona
like
sign.
the forceps they deliver babies with. Salad forks.
For those who are
Where's
watching
that?
live, this
Where's
is
that?
Bob Young. If you ever wondered what dial 788-9122 looks like recently, right? Most of his commercials you see are when he still had his flat top. He don't have that no more. How can we get more horsepower? You got me. I love those songs. More horsepower in 2024, Bob. I mean, you got to admit, those were some songs.
The songs got me right off the bat there.
So you might be thinking we're talking about horsepower today. And that is definitely what we're talking about. How do we get more horsepower in 2024? I mean, how fun is it? We got a show. It's New Year's Eve. Okay. I'm just saying. And so
It's upon us.
it is. And like, man, I would like to have more horsepower. And every man would like to have more horsepower in 2024. And so I just happen to have some insight I think is going to just help. And I'm really looking forward to your calls because this is a live show and you guys make it home. And I'm looking forward to it. And that is where really the horsepower of the Christian Car Guy Show is obviously Jesus and our listeners. But as you might imagine, the show is always brought to you by Hebrew Letters. Today we have two, because we need a lot of horsepower. So the word horse in Hebrew is a spectacular word, if you can begin to imagine what it is. Because Adam, when he named the animals, he had a special insight into the energies that God used for them, because God is the Word and the Word is God, right? And so God is expression. And so when he named those animals, he was using the expression that God himself used in order to form the horse. Okay. And so the word horse in Hebrew is Samik Vav Samik. And the letter Samik is a force to be reckoned with. It just is. And in fact, that letter so, I guess, scared King David that when you look at the last verse in the Psalmic section of the 119th Psalm, where King David's giving you the decoder ring to what these letters mean, that verse says, "My flesh trembles for fear of thee, and I'm afraid of thy judgment." In other words, he knows the power of that letter because to an extent it's a circle, and that circle is the power that holds the whole universe together. You know, it's gravity. Or it's the ring that you have around your finger that's signifying your unity to your wife. Or it's the ring that God is going to use to kind of engage us to himself. However that works, I'm talking about a force to be reckoned with. And when you take that much force and you put it, that's the first letter. The second letter is a vav. It's saying it's coming down from heaven, that force. Well, I think the horse on earth is a picture of what, Jesus rides one of these bad boys. And it's white. And it's a force to be reckoned with. And when we get to see the real thing, I mean, it's going to be like holy mackerel. And so, this is an exciting thing, horsepower. How do we get it? Right? Well, we get it through prayer. And that prayer requires faith. Right? You got to believe that you are actually talking to God in order to tune into WGOD, I'm just saying. And so, I would just ask this question of you, right? Like, you got church coming up tomorrow morning. And if you knew that the sitting president of the United States, say a president you really liked, whichever one that may be, say it was Ronald Reagan, okay? Or whoever you want, if it's Joe Biden, I bet you anything. If Joe Biden was coming to your church tomorrow morning, for sure, he's coming, and he wants to talk to you, Bob, would you clear your schedule to make sure that particular Sunday you showed up at church?
Absolutely. Anybody in that position of power would get me rolling a little bit.
Right. Or Wednesday night, he's coming to church, and we're all getting together. We can talk to him. We would be there. Right? Or just tomorrow morning early when you get up and you got a chance to spend time with him, would you be there if you believe that? Well, there's a scene from the movie The Darkest Hour with Winston Churchill that illustrates how much power these people had over the prime minister, and they didn't get it. And I just took, about a minute and 40 seconds of it. But Winston Churchill is trying to figure out what to do about Hitler. And as he is trying to do that, he goes and rides the underground, which is their subway system there. And these people are like, "Who is it? That's Winston Churchill. He's sitting right next to me." And this is what happened. You see, what the power of the people is, it's unbelievable. Because that particular story, changed history to some extent. And it was the ordinary people there with Winston Churchill. They were telling him, "We want to fight," right? Because he was looking for the courage. He was going to bring his people into this unbelievable battle that looked like he was outnumbered and no chance, right?
That's a huge amount of responsibility. And
Right.
I can't fathom. I used to struggle with decisions that affected the 27 or 28 people working for me. I can't imagine the whole country making decisions that affects that many people.
But the thing of it is the decisions that Jesus is making. And see, he too wants and needs and desires a relationship with you and feedback and all those kind of things. And so the reason why I say horsepower is because it is kind of like riding that saddle. Like you have at your disposal more power. In other words, Joshua got the sun to stop. That's how much horsepower we're talking about here, right? Because that was what he needed, and he had the courage and the faith to ask for it. And when in your life did somebody display that horsepower and you got to experience, you got to see it, you got to feel it, or maybe it came through you? That's what I'm talking about today. And that we all would grow our faith going into 2024 to realize how cool it is that we can, in fact, have that horsepower at our disposal, talk to him at any moment we want to. And believe me, he always wants to, and draw close to him, and he'll draw close to us. But then there's the element of faith. Do you really believe he wants to know? But the beauty of what happened there with Churchill, to my extent, Bob, is you could see he was the reason why they gave him that feedback is he wanted to know it.
That's a big thing, just being receptive to information. Sometimes as a leader, you think that you need to make the decision, but input's a valuable thing to have.
So I got to tell you, coming in the next segment, real quick, I'm going to play a soundbite from a live show I did yesterday where this lady called in, and she had the people that she was with had this kind of horsepower. And wait till you hear what happened. I mean, you want to listen to this, believe me, when we come back. But more than that, we need your story. 866-348-7884. We're talking horsepower here today. 866-348-7884. We'll be right back.
I forgot my chapstick. Today. Got any butter?
What's more, they like it. Medishare has double the member satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. this year's a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of more than 400,000 members. And here's the thing, if you join before December 30th,
It's a different thing. I'm starting to get used to it. The cameras, you know.
Oh, it's so weird for me because, I'm like, usually take my hat off and, let the hair go crazy. This morning I had bedhead and I had a little project I was working on. So I said, I'll just wear my hat. Just wear a hat, put it on, cover it up.
I do that too. My wife is not crazy about it, but she sees me. What are you doing wearing that hat? Well,
I didn't want to mess with my head this morning. Now, where are the cameras?
Where now?
Where are the cameras available? Where do you see the cameras? Where do you see what the cameras are?
Oh, it's
sitting
on
at?
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
It's streaming. It's streaming live actually on YouTube.
Mm.
We haven't got it hooked to the board yet, so they can't unfortunately hear the clips. They can't hear the music. They can maybe hear it coming out of some of the headphones.
We had Sean's birthday yesterday. We were trying to go to Texas Roadhouse. Then two more people wanted to go, and we were already in a jam. So we went by Texas Roadhouse and wasn't going to be able to work that out. So I drove up to Arigatos. Said, hey, by any chance, can you squeeze us in at 5 o'clock? Sure, Mr. Young. Hook you right up. And we went, I had plenty of room. Everybody ate good. But I went through a lot of stress between finding out. We thought we were going to have to show up, give them a count of how many of us were there, and then them tell us how long it was going to take. And we had 11. So we were looking at a 2-hour wait at Texas Roadhouse, probably, but no way of knowing.
Yeah, it's
But
Friday night.
Yeah.
Before New Year's.
But it all worked out. I mean, God had our back. I should have been praying yesterday, but he answered it anyway. Now, do the cameras have audio?
Yeah, they have microphones on them.
Uh-huh.
And so they're picking up that audio rather than the audio coming out of the board. Good news is that we don't break any copyright violations with our music or clips,
Okay.
Bad news is the viewers don't get a chance to see the shenanigans, I mean, you hear what's actually, it's just dead air for them.
Well, it's different knowing that they can see us because I've been in here and, I used to come greasy straight from work. I've got off the loader and run to the car and jumped in, and you called me 5 minutes before the show one day. I had to dash out.
That's okay. People want the real thing, you're a car guy. You're supposed to be greasy. Yes. Horsepower 2024 today on the Christian Car Guys show. And when did you see this kind of horsepower we've been talking about through prayer in your own life? We would love to hear your story. 866-348-7884. And I was remiss in telling you that was actually Chris Ledoux at the beginning in the intro. That was his song called Horsepower. And then I love the Okie Dokie Brothers. That's called One Horsepower, the song you just heard. And of course, ABBA with Happy New Year. I just think, man, always got the windows down, just riding around. I mean, doesn't that sound like fun? Yeah.
Very realistic and descriptive. 4-wheel drive.
I like the part where he says, if you pick it in that one verse, he says, the radio's ringing, or is that me just singing? And I think it's him just.
Yeah.
So we promised, and I'm going to tell you that this horsepower we're talking about, when people are praying for you, can literally change your life. So I don't know if you thought about calling on the same power to change somebody else's life. But this show I was doing yesterday, this lady called from Ohio by the name of Rachel, sweet lady. When you hear the gap, she's actually, you can hear, I've listened to the clip many times now. She was very emotional. It's just the thought of what these people did for her. And so listen to this. It's life changing to me. I can't get it out of my mind.
That's amazing what she says about the songs, because excuse me, the first Sunday after Rob passed, we were torn. We didn't know we didn't know what we were doing. Our world was ripped all apart, and was trying to decide whether we should go to church or whether we would be a distraction for everybody in church. We had just lost Rob, and I says, nothing's bad has ever come from going to church and being with that family up there. And so we went. And the very first song they sang was Inside Out. And I heard the words so clear to every song that day, but especially that one. And it just, what she said brought that back to me. I just felt the words more powerfully than I have ever felt words at any time in church, any service, anywhere. Just that morning, I needed that, and God gave it to me, and it was very, very, very special for me. And I had forgotten it until she said what she said.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What does that bring up in your heart? We want to hear your story of the horsepower that you experienced. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. You see how that one phone call encouraged you. I know it encourages me. Well, your story could encourage lots of others, because faith, it grows like that. And people need to hear that stuff like that happens. So call us, 866-348-7884. So what happened, if you listen, and I did, that what happened was, what Jesus said was the first commandment was Shema. Hear, O Israel, right? Her ears got open, Bob. Her eyes got open. And so those people hit the deck, man. I mean, I think about the faith of the people that were, like, here's this girl, she's going to buy more. How many people out there, I'm talking about me, Robbie Gilmore, would I have hit, like, man, this girl looks like she's hurting. I'm hitting the deck and I'm praying right now. Like, what?
That's really amazing, people with that kind of faith.
Right? They hit the deck.
Some people want to say, I'll pray for you. But when you say that, there's a prayer coming right out of your mouth immediately. Every time I've asked you to pray for me, boom, it happens right then.
Yeah, but the cool thing, it's just beautiful to me that they must have prayed. I thought about it all, since I heard this testimony. They must have prayed, open her ears or open her eyes, because he sure did. And you can hear how she's testifying to what actually is taken on. And so I just think, what a neat prayer to pray for people, that they would be able to hear you, God, that they would be able to see you, God, that's more than amazing. And I have my own story that when I had cancer, the reason why her testimony hit me between the eyes is that when she said I felt cold all over, I felt warm all over, I started laughing. Okay. And you might imagine I laughed. But anyway, I had cancer. I had lymphoma. What was told to be killer cell lymphoma that only 2 people had and died within 6 months. And so, it was looking pretty glum for the home team. And this man comes by the dealership and stops at the desk and says, I understand there's a man here that needs to be healed. The Lord told me to come lay hands on him. Like, what? I mean, this pastor, his name is Richard Little. He comes by the dealership and just says, the Lord told me there's somebody here that needs to be healed. And my finance manager pointed him to me. Well, I'm going to tell you what happened with that prayer, but we need to hear your prayer. When did somebody unleash that kind of horsepower in your life? 866-348-7884.
This ain't it. I was looking for the lyrics to that song.
What now?
I was looking for the lyrics to that song.
Oh, Inside Out?
Yeah. 1,000 times. But it was.
A 1,000 times I failed, still your mercy remains. Should I stumble again, still I'm caught in
There
your
you
grace.
go. Where's that at?
There you go.
Yeah, like Rob struggles, in from the inside out. Oh, there we go. Lyrics from the inside out. There you go.
Yeah, that's and you just don't know when it's going to happen, but it's like the Holy Spirit just goes, and all of a sudden everything is coming in 3D, in a new way, like, whoa. And usually it's in the heart. Then you just break down and cry, and you can hear her, like she just got a double dose. Like, man, she was crying. And that was only about a minute and a half of about a 4-minute discussion, and she didn't stop. I mean, I just she was on fire, and she was excited too. I was so glad that she called yesterday. It made my day. Like, man, I thought about it ever since. Well, at least it's warmed up in here since we turned the lights on. It was cold this morning.
It was cold in a lot of places this morning. I'm kind of still not got, it used to be cold weather. No problem. I'm just mad. I stay in the cold. Walked out last night in my shorts on to walk the dogs the last time, let them go pee.
No.
Whew, y'all need to hurry.
Horsepower 2024 on this New Year's Eve today with my good friend, dear friend, Bob Young from 109 You Pull It. And today's show, how can we get more horsepower in 2024? And by that, I literally mean prayer. I mean, and we talked about the horse, which was the Psalmic, but we didn't talk about the Nun, the second letter that I was talking about in the two letters that are sponsoring today's show. And that letter Nun, it looks kind of like a seed when it first comes out of the ground, when it's popping up, right? But it's also bending down. And see, that seed has...
Head up and bending down at the same time. Huh?
Right. Well, think about it. I have seeds coming out of the ground, right?
I can visualize it.
It's praying. Like, help me.
Even I can see that.
Yeah. Well, that's what a nun looks like. And the beautiful thing about it, when you think about it, is that it is trying to get to head towards the sun. In order to do that takes great faith. Right? And I'm talking about the SON, but of course it works for the SUN too. I mean, that's kind of like what the seed is doing, and it's growing and it's putting roots down in the ground. And every time you hear a story along these lines that we're talking about, it feeds your faith. And faith is what it took for those people to hit the ground. In other words, when they hit the ground and prayed for Rachel, they believed something was going to happen clearly. And when that man came to the dealership that day, Pastor Little, which I got to know much better years later, but I didn't know him then. And I was like, and Joe brings this guy, he said, Robbie, this man says somebody's here supposed to be healed. I'm guessing that's you. Because I was covered in these tumors. And so I was back in my office because I looked like a freak, I don't want anybody to see me. I was covered in...
Didn't want you on the front counter out there.
Right. The type of lymphoma I had was in my skin. And so it came out all over the place. And these really strange looking flat tumors. And he came in and he said, well, I'm going to anoint you with oil and I'm going to lay hands on you. Well, I'd been a Christian about 2 years and mostly Baptist churches. So I had no clue of what he was talking about. Like, you're going to put what on me and you're going to do what?
But at that point, you were probably receptive.
Let's
give it a whirl. I'm not liking this very much.
So, lay hands, whatever that means, but you go for it. So It wasn't like I had because I actually thought he was a nut. I really did. And so I was like,
I thought the same about you for years.
And so I'm okay. So he anoints me and he starts praying. When he does, that feeling that Rachel described of being hot and cold and sort of like this something going up and down your back. I don't know how to explain it, but you just know that something has happened, right? Something has taken place and something is now different. And so like, wow. Well, again, when he prays, this is a Friday afternoon, might have been Friday morning, whatever it was, I'm covered in tumors from head to foot. I probably have 100 of them on me. Okay. And, Baptist Hospital had taken all sorts of pictures because nobody had this kind, and it was just a really weird kind of cancer. And so I was supposed to start my chemotherapy on Monday. When I get to the doctor on Monday to get my chemotherapy, when I woke up that morning, not a single tumor, nowhere. My skin was all flat. Now you could see where they were. It was still kind of red, but all the tumors were literally gone. And the doctor's like, what the heck? What? And so they did a biopsy. And the Reader's Digest version of the biopsy said the cancer turned on itself and ate itself in one night. Like there went. Now, a lot of people were praying for me, and I don't know, which one was, because it didn't happen the moment he let go of me. But what I do know is that that's a remarkable experience. And when she said that she had that feeling of this, hot and cold and something, in other words, it's a physical feeling of.
It came rushing back to you, huh? That you
Right. Just like you just came rushing back to you that you could hear the words.
Absolutely.
And so you've got that horsepower. That pastor had the faith to follow God. Like, that's a pretty nutty thing to do. Walk into a place, well, somebody's here that needs to be healed.
We've got a friend that, dear friends, and their grandson had to go to the hospital, and he was sick and throwing up, and it was in his brain. And I'm trying to come up with the right word. I should have got it in my head.
Multiple melanoma?
No, this was an abscess. He had an abscess in his brain, 2 months old. And here they're taking him to the hospital, and they're having to stay. And at Brenner's, awesome people at Brenner's. Can't say enough about them and what they do and what they have done for so many. But he was there for a while. They got him diagnosed. They had to do a surgery. They had to remove a lot of the infection. And then they, flushed it out real good. And then they closed him up and treated him with antibiotics. And a lot of people that don't pray a lot were praying for this little fella. And 2 days before Christmas, he's headed back home. And every report we've got is still moving positive and forward. And just what a great Christmas present to have your grandson or your son or
Right.
to have a family member come home from the hospital in time to be there for his first Christmas. It was.
And so that something we said or something that Rachel said, or maybe something that Winston Churchill said, raised something in your mind. Oh, yeah. Well, somebody be encouraged by your story. So please call us. Please. 866-348-7884. I'm going to say it slow. 866-348-7884. So, Bob, you don't know this, I guess. I'm shocked that, but I had a brain abscess. 2 years after the cancer, or maybe 3 years after the cancer, they thought my cancer had come back in my brain. And so they did what's called a brain biopsy, which may sound like an easy enough procedure. Don't ever have that done. You can help.
Just to check on things.
No. They actually take a little piece of your skull off, and then they dip down in there to see what you got.
Don't take out too many parts, brother.
If you're wondering what happened, that's what happened. So, I had this procedure, and then what they did was they put a little piece of titanium there over the hole in your head, because now you got a divot. And unfortunately, this divot, the titanium they put back, had a staph infection on it. And within a very short period of time after the surgery, I developed this unbelievable, headache. And then all of a sudden my head was oozing, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's got an abscess in his brain, and it's growing and it's going fast. And it's probably going to take his life. Because brain abscesses are not good, especially, when it's a staph infection. So, a lot of people are praying for me again. I mean, this is, it's just part of my life. Why they say I have 7 lives like a cat. But this one was a little bit like, oh my goodness, here it comes. And I can remember the nurse coming in, and she said, well, they can't get this infection stopped. And so we're going to try this last day. I'm going to hang this one. This is the strongest thing we got. And if something don't happen in a few hours, Mr. Dillmore, you need to kind of make arrangements.
Wow.
Like, I don't know, there is a piece of news for you.
But everybody should live life like they've just been told that.
Right.
And I don't, but it just opened my eyes that we should all live our lives like we've just been told. We need to make our arrangements.
Yeah. And I remember asking God, like, what? And he reminded me of a book I'd read on the 23rd Psalm. It was called A Shepherd's Guide to the 23rd Psalm. At the end of the 23rd Psalm, it says, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, right? And the way that guy described is it was sheep have these golden hooves, and if they're shepherded properly, they leave a beautiful green pasture where they've been. And that people will feed on what your life was for eternity to some extent, when you think about it. And as soon as I turned to God, like I can remember hearing that from the nurse, thinking about, okay, God, what was all this about? And he immediately brought that passage to my mind. So Shema, I heard. My ears were open. Robbie, remember. And I didn't, happen to pass right then. But you know what's crazy about that story, Bob? Is twice in my life I've had dear friends, in fact, two of my best friends, that were needed to be told that they were dying. And their wives came to me and said, Robbie, would you tell Vic or would you tell Johnny that he's dying? Because I can't do it. I don't want the doctor to do it. And guess what I had? I can
The
relate with it.
experience.
Right. I need your story. Please. 866-348-7884.
Turn slowly. Undo cord proceed.
Oh,
Don't
he's moving.
don't move the chair. I gotta pee.
Oh,
Gotta get. Yeah, that's all right. Everybody has to.
there you are. Hey, Shane, I'm Robbie Nichols.
Weird phone call.
I'm glad you did. I'm looking forward to having you on.
That was the first time I ever did anything like that.
Just sit on they got cameras going there, but you won't be on the camera, I don't think. It doesn't matter if you are. Here you go.
Thank you.
Oh, you know where the stash is. That's good.
So you went to high school. What was your mascot? The Devil?
I went to El Dorado High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, I had my son. I wanted him to look you up a little bit on the way. I looked you up a little bit, and I was like, Jaden Daniel. Then he put his phone away, and I haven't had time. I wanted to look you up a little bit. I think it's important.
I grew up out west
Why here?
because when the price of oil dropped in Colorado and Exxon pulled out of all their operations there, and it went into a horrible depression almost in that area of town where there was nobody making any money. And we heard that there was a stable economy in North Carolina, because of the banking. And so we came to North Carolina. That was 35 years ago, a long time ago. We got a caller, Bob?
Bob Young.
Nice to meet you.
Maybe.
Pleasure.
Your name?
Shane Flemings.
Shane. Sounds right.
Bob is a local celebrity.
Nice.
Homeboy that figured out how to make a telephone ring.
It's true. That is exactly your story.
Yeah.
Homeboy learned how to make the telephone ring. So we're going to be back on the air in about a minute. We have this one segment to do, and then we'll move into your show. And you'll be on camera.
Okay.
I didn't know if you had a guest, but
I do.
Good deal.
But you're welcome to stay.
No, I've got an extensive amount of things to do.
We need your phone to ring.
There you go.
It's ringing. We got Sandy is in Sylvia. Okay, I'm excited now. If you want to hear this lady's call in a minute.
Love to.
Can you hear that? Where is Sovia, North Carolina? You ever heard of it?
What?
Sovia.
Mm. Now I've heard of Sophia. Sophia is near Asheboro, but that's PH, I think.
Well, he might have misspelled it.
Well, then maybe out near Asheboro. Maybe. Geography.
Because I've noticed that Nick is a creative speller. He spelled Cameron yesterday like COMA. Well, you know, like Mark Twain said, there's
Can you
at least
spell that for me?
2 ways to spell it. All right. Where were you born, Shane?
Wenatchee, Washington.
State of Washington.
Yes, sir. I drove over not even a month ago.
I was born in Idaho.
Were you really? It's pretty there.
It's pretty in Washington.
Yes, sir, it is. It's very pretty.
It's pretty in
Were
North
you in the
Carolina.
rainy part of Washington?
No, sir.
That's hey, wait a minute, I ain't that old. You don't have to call me sir.
It's a habit. I don't know why.
It's all good. I'm not
Oh,
offended. I just cut up. If I'm not cutting up, if I can't cut up, I'm probably not going to get it.
All right. Horsepower 2024 today on the Christian Car Guy Show. When have you experienced the kind of horsepower we've talked about with these prayer stories? And I couldn't be more excited because we have Sandy, who is in Sophia, North Carolina. Sandy, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning. I am so excited to hear your story. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. What an amazing, you know, Sandy, that is, you know, how old is your son now? Well, I guess he got okay. And I'm not familiar with, I mean, and I imagine many of our listeners have never heard of that disease before. What is that? Really? Yeah, like that lady was, you know, and the neat thing too about it, Sandy, is that in hearing your story, you're clear where it came from.
Crystal clear, huh?
Yes, he does. Yeah, we do. Yeah. And so I'm so glad you were obedient to call in. Oh, thank you. I'm so, yeah. Yeah, because that story is exactly right. I mean, I know so many people listen, you know, they know that, you know, when they hear that faint, small voice in their heart saying, you need to go pray for somebody, or I'm calling you to go do something, that be obedient, because you might just see something that will blow your mind, right? Because he yeah, that was the thing about the. Did you hear the prayer that the testimony from Rachel near the beginning of the show? Oh, these people prayed for her, and it's clear when she tells her story that they must have prayed that her eyes would be opened or that her ears would be open, because everything after that she could hear all the words, and she'd been in church all her life, she said. And so you're so right. Like, what an honor. And I was thinking that that could be a real way to have horsepower in 2024, was to pray that God would open their eyes, open their ears, right? Because in Isaiah, it says pretty clear, you know, if they would open their eyes and ear with their ears, I would heal them, right? But he can't, you know, because that stuff's shut down. And like, and he's got the horsepower to open it, but I don't know any other way it happens. Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Sandy, for calling, and thank you for listening to the Truth Network. And we're so grateful. And you know, I know Bob. We just think she ought to have an amazing New Year, don't you?
Amen.
And what's your son's name again? Jonathan. Well, let's just pray for Jonathan right now. So, Bob, Lord, thank you so much for this testimony about Jonathan, and we rejoice with Sandy that you came to his rescue that day. And Lord, you have something for his life. And so I pray that he would hear you more clearly than ever in 2024, that he would seek you and find you and share some of that which was given to him, the ability to hear and to see and to taste and know how good you are. I thank you for his mother and her faith and the sweet lady that came and helped. Again, I thank you so much, Sandy, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I can't wait to tell Elijah about his story. It'll be a while before I can share that with him, but
Well, God bless Sandy. You have a happy new year. We got to go. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, Bob, I hate we're out of time. But we are.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. So we're going to say it one more time. My last time in 2023 to say, remember, slow down. Jesus walked everywhere he went, got it all done in 33 years. In some ways, just 3 years, just saying. But anyway, as we head out of 2023, I cannot thank you enough for being the biggest part of the Christian Car Guy Show. Those calls just lighten up the whole world. And I'm so honored to be part of having, time with you guys today. Right, Bob?
It's been really special. Perfect time.
All right.
Woo!
That was good. Thank you,
You
Bob.
guys gotta listen to that stuff all the time like that?
Listen
You
to
guys are lucky.
We are.
Holy moly. It's like that all the time.
he's doing it on a daily basis now. People calling in. And,
Like that?
Well,
That's
exactly.
neat.
That is.
we used to get a lot of car questions and stuff, and we don't get as many car questions anymore, but that's all right. As long as we're reaching out and people respond, we know we touched one today.
Yeah, obviously.
We called and talked
Huge.
to us. Good luck today.
Well, if we're only going to get one call, that was a call to get.
Oh, good.
But we can
Tangled
use
up
Rachel's
in
call too.
cords.
So what the heck?
That was the first one.
I've got headphones knocked off. It's a train wreck. Imagine that. Bob's involved.
All right. So onward and upward, Kingdom Pursuits. We have Shane. What else do we need?
Shame.
I'm shamed.
This is
Nice to meet
Nick.
you.
He's
Pleasure.
our producer.
Yes, sir.
And
All right. I'll get out of the way, and
so
you'll have to get him repositioned. I moved the chair all right.
I'll get it done.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a happy new year.
Hey,
Look,
love you. So,
Happy New Year.
Lori, how much I appreciate all you guys. Man, it's wonderful. I'm so glad we got that meeting done this year.
so it happens.
Good job.
All right. See ya.
Yeah. So if you want to sit there, I can see how you look.
Not like
So-
Bob, that's for sure.
You see, there's the camera, so you want to kind of get in that, and then this comes up from the side, or otherwise it blocks your face.
I see.
Right.
How should I sit? Like this or sit?
Well, you guys are supposed to get up on the mic, so.
Oh,
yeah.
like this. So
Yeah.
sit up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you look great.
Do I need to
Right.
grab the books yet or not?
Yeah.
Should I really?
Are they in here?
Yes,
Now
sir.
that you're sitting there, I don't want to move you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
I mean,
man,
I really
that's
do
fine.
mean that.
That's what I do. And so thank you for having the courage to call.
Wow. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, good enough. You got her done.
Yes, sir. Did you get my email?
And you have an amazing, yes, I did. And your website's at my website now. You have an amazing looking website. Really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Like, man, this is a website right here. So you got both books.
Well, just in case, I didn't
The
know.
whole set.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
apologize.
Because we got people are going to call in when I tell my jokes. A big part of this.
You tell jokes?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not good at that. Oh.
Oh, your job is just to have fun, laugh, and then try to answer the questions when they come at you.
Okay.
But they will.
So you did look at my webpage a little bit then.
Oh, of course. I looked at. Oh, yeah. Of course, I appreciate you sending that. It's a real busy time of the year, and like Bob says, I have shows almost every day, so
That's neat though.
it is neat.
If you get to hear that stuff every day, I envy. Because that almost, well, I mean, it gave me a little tear. I just didn't want to like break down, but
Yeah, well, you can see that. You know,
I felt it in her.
yeah, of course.
I mean, it was all her, I mean, Jesus, but it was
Yeah, it
her,
really
her
is.
little person. I mean, she thought he was gonna die, and then all of a sudden, 26 years later, you can still feel the love she has.
I didn't put this.
That was neat.
Your last name is Ferguson? Or?
Flemens. Flemens.
And so we got conviction and deep conviction.
Yes, sir. I actually I moved to Galax. I don't know if you know where that's at.
I do.
And I was kind of hesitant because I haven't been doing any promotion at all. Are we almost time to start or something?
We got about a minute 50 seconds.
So I went into the bookstore, Chapters, and they accepted my book, and then they kept pushing for a signing. So anyways, I took the signing. So on the 6th, we're having a book signing.
So go up to Gullion's Christian Supply on your way home or sometime in the near future.
Tell me,
It's
because I'll go by there.
It's in King. Gullion's, Gullins.
Say it one more time. I'm on there.
Gullion's, Gullins. Christian Supply, it's in King. Dwight Gullion is the owner. And just ask to speak to Dwight. Tell him Robbie sent you. He'll carry your book. He'll do book signings, whatever you want to do. It's one of the biggest. He has 2 stores. It's one of the biggest Christian bookstores around.
Spell it one more time. G what?
Guillions.
LLIONS. Goings Kings.
Yep.
Found it.
Dwight Gullion, the homeschool headquarters.
Homeschool.
Okay. Whatever you want to do, Nick. No, seriously, I don't know. I mean, let me look at my riddle. Let's see. 2 men have been convicted of stealing a 2024 calendar. Do you know what they got? So I think we're probably going to be one answer, one person to get that. Usually you won't, because they both got 6 months. Just saying. But 10 seconds. Can you hear?
I can't hear you.
Did you hear that?
No. Oh, yes, I can. Yes, sir.
How fun is it? It's New Year's Eve. And so let me wish you a happy 2024, the last King of Pursuits of 2023. How fun is that? And speaking of fun, we have a really, really amazing man on with us today, Shane Flemens. He wrote the book Conviction. And it comes from a true conviction, right, Shane?
Yes, sir, it does.
And so, Shane, tell us a little bit about your story.
So I'm from Wenatchee, Washington, little farm boy. We had a little orchard and little fish pond on the farm, raised horses, cows, chickens, you name it. We did. I didn't spend a lot of time in the house. I was always fishing, got in trouble many times for leaving before.
What kind of fish did you fish for in Washington? Like trout and steelhead and stuff like that?
Steelhead, not our pond, but there was a lot of trout. There was catfish, bluegill, crappie, bass.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd be fishing too.
Oh, I fished.
Yeah.
I got spanked a lot, but I could not stop. So I'd wake up before anyone got up, and I would come home when everyone was worried, sick, and that's just the way it was. I don't recommend that, but
I understand. But anyway, and so at some point in time, you got convicted.
2008, sir. I love fishing so much. I used to crab fish and long line up in the Bering Sea in Alaska, and it was rough. I mean, fishing's rough. And anyways, in 2008, my son, he was 6 at the time, said, "Hey, Dad, please don't go." And I said, "Kiddo," I said, "I'll be gone 13 weeks." That was the fishing season in Alaska and Kodiak. It's salmon. And I didn't make it home until 2015.
Wow. And so we're going to hear a lot about that and his story and his book. So he's got one called Conviction and another one called deep conviction. And certainly I think you're going to be encouraged as you listen to the show today. But if you know me, and it is, of course, New Year's Eve, that we got to have a little convicted action here. So speaking of conviction, right? And yes, it is time to play, as you well know. But anyway, so Nick, here comes, this is a tough one. Do you know what happened to the fraction when it was convicted? Got any idea on that one, Shane? What happened to the fraction when it was convicted? It's similar. It was drawn and quartered. That'll leave a mark. Oh, yeah, I actually do love that. Well, this one's a little easier for you, Nick, and maybe Shane can get this one because this is low-hanging fruit, literally. Do you know how the wrongly convicted banana, how did it go free? Think about it. It's pretty easy. Come on, Shane.
Killed.
Come on, Shane. You can do this. It definitely was right, but you know he won on appeal. It happened every time. I told you it was low hanging fruit.
Good one.
You know what I'm saying?
That was a good one.
So then I actually have a long one that it's a little distasteful, but by the same taste, it's so funny I could not tell it. So here you go. This is a little long for my normal one, but we'll see if we're going to jump in here and see if you know the answer. So in ancient Rome, there was a man convicted of murdering and then unfortunately eating his wife. The soldiers arrested him and brought him before Caesar. Did you have remorse for your heinous crime? Caesar asked. The convicted man smiled and shook his head. He looked very happy. Caesar was shocked. He told the guards, to commit such an act, bad enough to be happy about it. As a punishment, keep him in chains every day. Make him fight armed opponents using only the minimum of weapons. Report back to me in a week. We'll see if he's still smiling. Right? So the guards dragged the man off. He was still smiling. As they were commanded, each day they made the prisoner fight. And on the first day, the armed with only a net and a stick, he fought off the opponent with a spear. On the next day, with only a small rope, he fought 2 swordsmen. And so on. It was forced to fight every day. At the end of the week, the prisoner was in a real sorry state. He could barely even blink, let alone smile. So the guard came to Caesar. Oh, Caesar, I've come to report on the prisoner. We made him fight each day using the basic weapons, like you said. He was sort of like what you call, what would you call him, Nick? What would you call somebody in Rome in a Colosseum fighting, with a stick and a net and maybe a sword or a spear? Famous movie. Come on.
Gladiator?
There you go. All right. So the guard snickered and said, no, he actually quite regrets it. Yeah, I do too. It's worth the time it took to tell it. So at the end of those shenanigans, you knew I'd actually have a chance for you to call in and win. And no, it's not a Bible ready, just a New Year's riddle today, since it's almost New Year's. So, and since we're talking about convicted, right? 2 men have been convicted of stealing a 2024 calendar. In fact, I have several Ray's Body Shop ones right here, just to throw a shout out for Ray's Body Shop because they have the greatest calendars in the world. But 2 men got convicted of stealing one of these 2024 calendars. If you can tell us what they got, Nick, tell them what they win.
Yes, absolutely. You'll be winning Shane Cohen's books, Conviction and Deconviction. And all you have to do is just call the truth number. That's 866-348-74.
There you go. You could win these books, the complete set of Conviction and Deep Conviction, and I think you're going to want those. All you got to do is tell us 2 men have committed a horrible crime of stealing they just stole one 2024 calendar. What did they get? 866-348. It does tickle me. 866-348-7884. So you can call in and join the fun. We would love to hear from you. Maybe a New Year's greeting of some kind. We would love to have that. Just give us a call. So getting back with Shane, I like that end music. That was nice. Maybe we need to we need to add that. So Shane, you're off, and from what I understand, you've even fished, right? Tuna fished with the what do they call it? The greatest catch? What do they call it?
Not tuna fish, but king crab, deadliest catch.
Deadliest catch. So you've done that.
Yes, sir, I have.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I was on the last tour of the Gladiator tour when it was open for anybody. It went out as it was all everybody on a fleet. There was no quota, and I got to experience that too. It was different, that's for sure. It was scary, but it was fun.
And so, man, you have been out in the water. I mean, when the serious seas, right?
Lots.
What is that like? I mean, for somebody, I just can't even imagine, because I've been in a boat when it was kind of rough, but that ain't anything close to what you've seen.
No, sir. It's you talk to Sig Hansen and you talk to all the other guys on there. I mean, what you see is what you see. There's a lot of behind scenes that you'll never know, but the water's hit pretty hard. Winds pick up real fast. A lot of times you're tied off to the boat if you're on deck, if you're long lining. I know it's when you see them, you're seeing king crab, but long lining is dangerous too. It's the same time. Just a couple months later, usually king crab's October, A season, cod, pot cod, dungies, all that is A season during the middle of winter, January.
And so you're out on the deck, and so have you ever seen anybody go over?
Not personally. We have saved a gentleman a couple times, different times. I was fighting an octopus one time, and I look over.
Oh, we got to hear about this. Well, we got to go to a break. We're going to hear about the octopus fight, and this is not 20,000. He did not write 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He wrote Conviction. But we also have Carrie has an answer for our Riddland, Virginia. I'm very excited about talking to Carrie, and so we come back, or you may have another answer. So you call us 866-348-7884. We'll be right back with so much more Kingdom Pursuits. Great job. Great job. I'm going to go find out if Carrie's a boy or a girl. Because
Okay.
it could be either. And I don't want to say she's. Yeah, man. Oh, we're going to save those good stories for I can see this can be fun. Or is fun.
I like it. I mean, I'm more into you though, and what you're doing. It's neat. It's super neat.
Well, we have openings all the time, and certainly now we have your contact information. So I'll have the program director get up with you, and maybe they got part-time or whatever.
Oh,
if you want to come, I don't know if you got a job or you're doing something, but
I'll give you my information.
again, I have your information. I've got your email address and your phone number. So I'll just give it to Carmen, and she can contact you, because some people have regular jobs. They'll come in and work the weekends or whatever they want to do. And what I have discovered is that if you work in a radio station, it won't be long. And they're going to ask you to fill in or do this commercial, or Robbie, I need your voice for this. Or Robbie,
Oh, for you, yeah, that's neat.
no, everybody.
My voice isn't that great.
My voice isn't great.
Your voice is cool. It is.
When God called me to do the Christian Car Guy show, my first words to him, God, have you heard my voice?
You said that, really?
Oh, I believe it. I don't have a radio voice at all.
I like it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But to me, it's like, what? Yeah, that was my first words. Because, like anybody, when you hear your voice on a recording, because what you hear with your ears and what you hear on a recording are two different things. You know that?
No, sir. I didn't know that. I'm a really shy person. If you ever see me, I'm usually in the back. I don't say nothing.
Well, welcome back to Kingdom Pursuits, where we hear how God takes your passion and uses it to build the kingdom. And today, how fun, man. I mean, I know of a few fishermen in the Bible. It's a pretty good passion. I don't know if you thought about that, but, just one of my favorite all-time, you just thought the jokes were over, but for me, they're never over, as my wife will tell you. So when I think about fishermen in the Bible, Nick, you probably know this because I've used it on you before, but what musical instrument did the disciples that fished, what musical instrument did they play? Do you know that, Shane, you being the fisherman that you are? So, it's just Peter, James, and John. They were all really good at it. The castanets.
I got to go on top of you.
But we have Carrie is in Virginia waiting to answer this riddle. So, Carrie, you're on Kingdom Pursuits. Good morning. I am excited to hear what happened to these poor men that were convicted of stealing these 2024 calendars. What did they get? They're exactly right. They both got 6 months. Because at the end, split a calendar, they each got 6 months. It makes perfect sense. I love it. You're exactly right. And so, well, you did great. It's 866-348-7884. Have you ever wrestled an octopus? Me either. So I'm I mean, they got little suckers on them and stuff. So I'm really. We're gonna hear about that in a minute. So what have you got New Year plans, Carrie? Oh no. You're sounding great. Well, I'm so glad. Well, thank you, Carrie. It's God's story. I've been along for the ride all along, but believe me, man, it's really, and have you ever heard of survivor syndrome? So unfortunately, there were several people diagnosed with cancer about the same time I had it, and they didn't make it. And I've often wondered, God, these guys, they had 3 kids and whatever, but, maybe God knows, or he does know exactly what's right and all those things. And so, I'm so grateful because I, got to see my kids grow up and actually had a child after those events that I was not supposed to be able to have because after the chemotherapy I had and all that, I was not supposed to be able to have children. And so we had the miracle child come along who is now, are you ready for this? 24 years old. She got married this year. Yeah, me too. We're honest. Yeah. So are you fighting something right now? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we're praying right now. All right, Carrie? So, Jesus, thank you. Thank you for Carrie's courage to call in today. And I thank you that you encouraged her, right? That certainly you have the power to heal her, and you have what she needs in any regard. I can hear her heart that she loves you and she's anxious to know what's going on. Lord, we just pray that you would touch her body, that you would heal her in whatever way you see fit to do that. And if that means that she has many more years here or many more in eternity, we thank you for that. Lord, we pray that she would sense your presence like never before, that she would know you're with her in the journey either way, and that she would not suffer, that you would give her a supernatural ride on the highway. And that again, that she would hear you, that she would see you, feel you, and experience you like never before. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Oh, it's my joy. And of course, you're going to be on my prayers tonight, Carrie. Thank you so much for the courage to call in. Oh, same here. Have a great, happy New Year, okay? God bless you. Bye-bye. Wow. So, and Shane, yeah, that's a good friend. Wants to listen to you on the radio. And so getting back to, we got to, it's hard to switch from that to wrestling an octopus, but how big was this octopus? Like, how did you get you got to tell us the story.
We're heading out. God bless you, by the way. We were fishing out in the Bering Sea, and we were getting bait for king crab. And we had enough. We started king crab. The season opened. We're fishing, and octopus get into the pots. That's just the way things go. And we're using cod for bait. And I'm on a boat where it has a processing plant, and we had quota for all this other type of fish, and we were selling this fish along with our king crab. So we just brought an octopus up on the boat. I'm trying to.
How big is this octopus?
His arms are bigger than me.
My gosh.
His body's probably the size of my neck to my
Thighs. Is what
close.
you're describing.
Maybe
Right.
a little bigger,
So this
but not
is about a 4-foot body on this.
pretty much.
It's a big octopus. Like, this is 20,000 leagues under the sea.
Well, it wasn't very fun. And I'm in this orange
Right.
gear. And they, believe it or not, the octopus do suck to those, and you have to literally pull them off, and then you can hear it. You can hear it popping. Well, I look over, and at that time, the octopus is already like trying to get away, which is, that's what they do. They want to get away. I'm trying to pull him inside out and pull his little beak out so I can put him in the freight, the plate freezer.
Oh, people eat octopus. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So
So you pull them inside out I did not know that. I learned something today. See, if I listen to King of Pursuits, Nick, the things you learn, that the way to catch an octopus is you pull them inside out. Like their beaks, I bet this guy had a big bad beak that might have hurt you had he decided to land.
No,
they don't do it.
No, sir.
Oh, so 20,000 leagues in the sea was not what they do.
No, but it's their mouth, believe it or not. But anyways, you got to pull them inside out, pull the mouth out, put them in this metal pan, and then put them in the freezer plate, and then shut it. But then they still try to get out. So anyways, I
don't blame them, and they got all those legs to do it.
They do too. One's going one way and one's going the other the whole time.
Right.
So I look over, and the pot's already over the boat. We just launched another pot. The guy has the buoys, which one's for picking up and one's for another reason. But anyways, there's two buoys. The lead line is already in the water, and it's going out. I look over, and his foot's in the bite. So I'm
his
panicking.
Foot, meaning the octopus's foot?
No, me and him were already.
Right.
I'm putting him in the food category, and I'm
Right.
trying to get money, and he's trying to get away. That's just the way it's working.
Whose foot is in the bite?
So my other deckhand. So It's called the bite. It's the line that goes out from the pot to the buoys that goes down to the bottom of the Bering Sea.
Right,
where
and that thing has your leg. You're going down.
he's right in the middle of it, and I mean, that's one of the most important things you could ever do on a boat. Never ever get in between the bite or get your foot. Just stay always out of it. I look over and his foot's in the bite, and he doesn't know. I mean, we've been up for days, and so he's exhausted. I can see it. And all I remember is taking the octopus and throwing it. He goes into and I can remember seeing my Vicky going up, and I turn around and I slide. We hit a swell, water comes down. My other the deck boss who's running the crane sees it. And he grabs him, which is probably the smartest thing he could do because the guy was probably going to fight. And he was trying to fight. He didn't understand. I grab the line and I rip it from his, and the buoys seconds later. So it was one of those. I mean, there's nothing.
Why
we
do
can
you
do.
use some terms I gotta understand because it's
I
such a story.
apologize.
No, don't apologize, man. This story is awesome. Like, man, I wasn't expecting this. So, and we're gonna get to your book here in a minute. We're gonna get to the story. So you said your Vicky. You look up at who's your Vicky?
The Vicky's the knife that you use on the boats. It's you always have one or two on you because you never know if something happens. There's so many lines and
Right. You need to cut the line because it could cut this guy's leg. But
you never know.
did you Vicky the line?
No, my Vicky flew out of my hand when I was messing with this dang octopus
Oh,
because I was trying to get to him because I knew. There's nothing you
right,
can do.
right.
So as I slid on my knees, I'm in orange, and I slide. My other deck boss, the deck boss grabs him from up top, and he sees it. He's running the crane, and like I said, the pot's already over. The line's going out. We're already past the lead line. We're into the other line, and
What a story, man.
seconds later, the buoys it hits the top of the boat and skims out, and we look at each other, and we're like.
Yeah, that was it, man. And the octopus, was he still end up in the freezer?
He did. He was down he was down the chute though. He was out of the metal tank that I was fighting him, and he was scootering on out. And I grabbed him, and we
still got, there you go, plenty to eat. We'll be right back.
that was that. That was scary though. What do you think?
I think that was powerful. Powerful as it could be. Is it in your book?
That one's not yet.
No, it ought to be.
Not
That's
yet.
quite a
Well,
story.
I've only written 2, and when I first truly wanted to write my first book, it was just gonna be about the prison.
Whole story. Carrie Mitchell. That's the little girl. Lady said she knew you. Carrie Mitchell, Virginia Beach.
How though?
I don't know.
I'm not from here. Carrie Mitchell.
Carrie Mitchell.
Carrie Mitchell.
I'm gonna
And
look
she
her
lives
up.
in Virginia Beach and she has lung cancer.
I'm gonna look her up.
So
I am.
You
You
she
have
knew
her
you were going to
information.
be on somehow.
How though?
yeah, I have her phone number and email.
I mean, I do have people that follow me that I don't know, but
Maybe.
I don't know who that is.
Maybe.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's super neat.
Seems like a nice lady.
I'm gonna look her up and tell her.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't realize she had cancer sooner than I did. Did you realize she had cancer?
I thought she was in remission.
No, she just got put into stage 4.
Yeah.
But, I was listening to her and all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, you're fighting cancer. That's the reason why I encourage her. She said, you really encouraged me. Well, the reason I really encouraged her is she's got cancer.
And you. I didn't know that either.
That was in the previous show that I told the story, and she had listened to that because she was going to hear your show. And so she listened to the show before.
See, you help people too.
God does.
Yeah, he does. That
That's
hurt my
the
feelings
deal,
though.
man.
It was hard to go from that to octopus
Well, it was,
because it's.
but we started it, we had to go. And that was a great story. It was a great story.
The octopus.
Yeah.
That was scary though.
Plus, I learned a lot about octopus fishing.
Did you? That's how you do it. So basically, it's like you know what freezer plates are? All it is pretend like your refrigerator in your house just have these little things, and you push a button and compact, and everything froze. And then you lift it up and everything's frozen to a certain degree to where you can bag them and then sell them to everyone else. That's all it is. But the octopus have to be put away. But when you put them in these dang flipping these pans, they're about this tall. They fit in there, but their arms are always trying to flip and get out. That's just the way those little buggers work. And it just so happened I was fighting one at the same time. All that stuff happened. It was scary.
Very
I promise. It was one of
dramatic, actually. The guy's life was
those. Yeah, it wasn't
like,
very,
what would have happened if,
well, his leg would have got ripped off. So 100% sure.
oh, okay. Well, welcome back to Kingdom Pursuits, where we hear how God takes your passion and uses it to build the kingdom. And so fun today. We've had Shane Flemings with us and his book Conviction, which we haven't got to that part, but clearly he is a fisherman. And I'm going to tell you, oh my goodness, the stories he's told. If you're just tuning in for lots of reasons, from what we just heard from Carrie, from all the stuff that went on earlier in the show, you got to go back and listen to the podcast of this show. What a story of the octopus battle that I had no idea we were going to get into that. But I got to know, so how did you end up convicted? Like, you're out there fishing, excuse me, and doing all that stuff, and you're away from your son, and you're like, that had to be heartbreaking. And now what happened? How'd you end up in prison?
So after many years of fishing, I went back to Kodiak, and I was a pretty good fisherman, so I could get on all these Highliner boats. Highliner boats are the boats that have, ratings per boat, because every boat that fishes has.
Right, you're going to make more money on the bigger boats.
Yes,
on
sir.
the better boats.
Yes, and they're over years of time that these boats have been, certain amount. There's like a pie graph, and each boat has a certain amount of,
right,
per capita and how many reds they caught and all this kind of stuff. Well, I was on one of the best boats on the fleet now. I fished enough. I know how to run the boat. I know how to run the skiff. I can run the deck. I can run the crane. I can do all this kind of stuff, fill up. The skipper can leave, go be with his wife. I can take the boat. I can do whatever, I can drive all the boats. So now I'm on a really decent boat, and I'm going to be skiff guy. So I'm per pie graph type. I'm trying to,
you've climbed the fishing ladder.
Yeah. And so anyways, these guys come down and said, hey, I don't want you on the boat. And I'm like, well, too bad. I said, I came a long ways. And they're like, well, we're local and we want the job. And I go, well, go talk to the skipper. That's just the way it is. Well, one thing leads to another. There was some drinking and drugs at the beginning before we left. I was on the boat asleep. One of the guys comes in, says some harsh things. I say, hey, you got to go. I'm trying to sleep. And we go out on the water, and he continues to use drugs. And it's just, it led up to a fight on the boat. And he was hurt real bad. One of the other guys, everyone else was okay. I shouldn't use names. It's not in the book yet. But one of the guys got cut in the ear. One of the guys had a knife, one had a pin, and it turned really bad. Yeah, it was real bad. Coast Guard comes out in the middle of the ocean with the big helicopter. It was one of those Discovery Channel type moments, just real stuff. Coast Guard gets his way down there. Me and him are talking on the deck. He's like, can you help me? I said, absolutely. So I helped get one of the guys off the boat. They airlifted him up, take him to the hospital. We're on our way back, and I put my arm around the other guy, and he's like, please don't say anything. I said, I'm not. Anyways, the guy that got taken off and knew the judge real well, him and his dad were best friends, and one thing led to another. I got sentenced to quite a long time in prison in Alaska, and from Alaska, they sent me to Colorado, and from Colorado, they sent me back. And then,
was it for assaulting the guy?
Yes, sir. One guy got stabbed, and the other one got his feelings hurt, which I understand. It was one of those things.
So, wow.
Yes, sir.
And so how long were you in prison?
They gave me 19 years with 9 suspended.
So 10 years.
I could have done it all, but the good Lord was looking out for me and
So
had other plans.
what were those? I mean, were you a Christian when you?
No,
Okay.
no, sir.
Then what happened?
I was stuck in Anchorage. I got put in a smock on the floor naked for a few days. Then I started realizing all sorts of different stuff in the world, and I was scared. I couldn't make any phone calls. Every one of my phone numbers were blocked. I couldn't call my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, kids, nobody. Every single number that I called was blocked.
Why were they blocked?
I have no idea. I couldn't get out. So 6 months later, I still haven't talked to anybody. And I finally met a Christian. It was in Cook Inlet. And we were visiting. And little did I know at the time, he was ranked number 2 in the state for wanted. So he was number 2 wanted in the state of Alaska. Anyway, we start visiting. He goes, "Do you want to talk to your mom?" I go, "Please." So anyways, he does this 3-way, talk to my mom, first time. It was definitely emotional. And then the rest is history.
As far as
The travel. So basically, I got to talk to my family for the first time. I still didn't know Jesus, still didn't even think about him. Little did I know when I was going through all the corridors and the locked doors and all the feces and all this, I would see God on like a little tiny writing on the wall. Another room that I'm like going through all this, have faith. So, I mean, I'm like taking all this in, but not understanding why. So I'm starting meeting some of their friends. So I'm in Kodiak jail. I'm looking at 230 years. All right, first thing I did was, as soon as I got the paperwork, I'm like, okay, I'm putting it in my heart. So I'm looking at 230 years, and I'm like, well, how is this possible? So where I come from in Washington, that's not the way it works. You're looking at 99. You go on death row, all this kind of weird stuff. I mean, I didn't kill anybody, but I mean, the way this thing was written up, that's not how it works. So, I mean, I'm like in a whole new realm of all, and I don't know anybody. So when I first get arrested, I'm leaving. This is in my first book. I leave Kodiak. I'm there for like a little month. They throw me in a little hole and stuff with a camera. They're watching me 24/7. And I don't realize that all their friends already know, and I'm an outsider. Well, anyways, I fly. This was my first flight. They moved me more times than anyone in the history of Alaska. I didn't know that at the time.
why?
They said I did too good. So Alaska, if you look at the statistics, pie graph, however you want to look at it, statistics, we'll stick with pie graph. It's easy to understand what a pie graph is. Kids can understand pie graph. So the statistics prove that 9 out of 10 people that go to prison always end up going back to prison. So when I first got arrested, I wasn't going to make it. It's just the statistics. The pie graph proves that this gentleman right here goes in and he's not going to make it. It's just, you're going to go back. So I didn't know that they're ranked number 2 in the nation for corruption and recidivism and all this kind of stuff. I didn't know any of this stuff. I went in blind. But I got flown from Kodiak to Anchorage, and I'm in a state trooper's patrol car. He sticks me in the back. I'm getting transported through the airport, and I meet one of their friends for the first time. I don't know this, but he and I were handcuffed. I'm in the back with him now. He's getting taken back to Kodiak, and I'm going to Anchorage, where he just came from. That. So anything that happened in Kodiak, you're going to go to court there. They just send you to Cook Inlet or pre-trial for the preliminary. He's got a mohawk, and this is the first time I've been out of my cell. I'm looking at 240 years almost. I'm not doing all that great. I don't know Jesus. I'm just dealing with whatever, there's nothing I can do. He looks at me and goes, if I weren't in handcuffs, I would kick your backside. And he didn't say backside, but he said it more, it wasn't very nice. So I'm like, this isn't gonna be fun. I don't say anything, but I'm I'm in handcuffs. I don't say anything. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a rough ride. I mean, I'm like, okay, so all his friends think they know. And I'm sitting in the back of the cop car, handcuffed with him. And now I'm going in with all the rest of his friends.
Wow. So when we come back, we will hear more of conviction. And you can see why you need to buy this book, because there's so much that we're missing out on. That we need to hear deep convictions, even deeper than that. So we'll be right back. And by the way, all this is at kingdompursuits.com. You can get to his website, order his books. Oh, we'll be right back. Hang on. Well, the really sad news, because this has been so much fun, is this last segment isn't but about 6 minutes long.
Okay. What do
So,
you want me to do?
well, this is, I think what you got to do now is just get to the point of your actual, like, I know it's going to take you maybe a year or two into the future of the story to where you actually realize who God is and how to get saved. And that part of the story,
It
maybe.
took me a long time. It did.
Well,
I read
then-
the Bible. I mean, I was reading the Bible every day and I couldn't understand a flipping word.
Good.
Well, I didn't know though. It was kind of annoying.
But you stuck with it. Why?
I don't know. I really don't know. I was in my cell and I just would read, 5, 6, 7 pages and 10. I couldn't understand nothing. And I just kept reading and reading and reading and reading. And then next thing you know, one day I understood a little flipping sentence.
What was that sentence?
I'd have to think back. It was in the middle of the Bible. I don't remember what scripture exactly, but I know it was in the middle of the Bible. And I just kept reading from there, and I started to understand. It had to do with the Gospels. I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say 100%, but I think it was in the gospel part of stuff.
Nonetheless, you got the idea that Jesus died for you.
Yeah, he did.
And
Yeah, he did.
so what brought you to North Carolina?
Dave Bremer. So
Who's Dave Bremer?
So I'm from Washington. You knew that. He is a big time contractor. I was a little time contractor. I do concrete. I do decorative concrete, sprinkler systems, decks.
Well, welcome back to Kingdom Pursuits, where we hear how God takes your passion and uses it to build the kingdom. Today, we are so blessed. Here we are on New Year's Eve to have Shane Flemings with us. He, amazing fisherman story up there in Alaska, the Bering Sea, all that. Wow, you got to go back and listen to these stories. His book, Conviction, Deep Conviction, they're both at kingdompursuits.com. You can see his website and so much more about him there. But to kind of fast forward into the story, because we don't have a whole lot of time left, Shane, you ended up obviously without a whole lot. You're in prison, right? You got not a whole lot to do, and somebody gets a Bible in your hand. How did that happen?
I got transferred once again to one of the prisons called Kenai, and I'm downstairs. It's packed. Little did I know they're getting ready to ship a bunch of people to Colorado. It's one of these money things, not ethical, but it's money.
Right.
And I'm on the floor, which is illegal, but there was everybody laying out next to each other.
Right.
And this guy named Kevin, he was in the Faith Pod. We still talk today. And he was like, hey, we met, we visited. He's like, I want to get you in this Faith Pod. And I'm like, sure. Well, I had way too much time. They said, hey, there's no way. I mean, you're looking at 200 some years. You've just been sentenced. You got 10 years to go. And this was designed for shorter term,
Right.
year, 2, maybe 3 max. Well, whatever happened, the good Lord said, hey, wait a minute, you're going to go. So they allowed me in this program. From there, I became the chaplain assistant. A lot of things happened before this, I assure you. But I was reading the Bible, couldn't understand it. One day I understood.
How many years into your sentence was this?
It was roughly 3-ish.
Okay.
3.5
3 years
-ish.
in, you get this Bible and you begin to read it and you can't understand it and you can't understand it. And how many weeks, months were you reading the Bible before you understood in anything?
I bet you it was at least a year, year and a half. Maybe it might have been 4.5. I mean, I would have to like look at all my
4.5
travels
years?
before I found Jesus when I was inside. I was reading, but I didn't understand it, and I definitely was not.
Okay, well, I just got to know, because inquiring minds, as I listen to your story, and what a neat thing God did, is that you obviously, had a life without God, and then all of a sudden, he comes after you in a very interesting way. Like for 4 years, you saw God on the wall, you saw this, you knew there was something there, but you really had no understanding. For 4 years, you were trying to understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what happened.
Do you think that, and I hate to almost say this, but do you think that God knew the only way I'm going to get this guy's attention was I would have to give him enough alone time to spend with the Word till I can finally turn on the light? Like, is there a
Yes.
sense in that?
100%. I mean, I think about it all the time. When I first got arrested, to all the little travels that I did. Yes, 100%.
And I wouldn't say that except for, I lost my dealership. I lost a lot of stuff, right? And I had all my illnesses. But I've often thought, God just knew I'm really thick-headed. And he was trying to get through some messages to me through the cancer, through the brain aneurysm, all the stuff that I had, right? The abscess, all that stuff. He was trying to give me messages of love, of understanding that people would love me in spite of the fact that I didn't love myself or whatever all was going on in that. And I'm sure you felt that same way, because I imagine you didn't feel real loved when you in the middle of all that shenanigans. Like, man.
No, I didn't feel loved at all. I didn't even think about Jesus. Like I said, I didn't run to him
But here were these guys that were reaching out to you,
the whole time.
and you're like, there's something really different about these guys.
That's the whole thing. You're exactly right. It was when I went fishing for the first time. I met my first skipper that I actually fished with. Him and his wife were walking down on the boat with their hands held, and they prayed at every meal. They made us pray, and it wasn't like that on the boats. That was the only boat that I was ever on, and it was.
And that was an impression you never forgot.
And I still won't. No, sir, because the other boats are not like that. I assure you.
And so what neat stories. Again, Shane's book is Conviction, and then he's got, of course, a deep conviction. And so he's got a beautiful website, but that's the link right there. If you go to kingdompursuits.com, you'll see his link. And by all means, okay, order his books. I mean, here he'd been through this whole experience, and he had the courage to write the story. In other words, God put it on his heart to write this story. So please go get the book. And then after you get the book, go on Amazon, wherever you need to go, and send him a review. Tell him how you liked it. So it means so much. Encourages young authors like you would not believe when they get feedback from you on how much you like their book. Because obviously, and I'm listening to a story and I'm thinking, man, this guy's got crazy courage, right? It takes courage to go out on the ocean like that. I'm going to tell you, and it takes courage to write a book and to throw your faith out there when you've been through all the stuff that you've been doing. So, Shane, I am just think that, man, we got to have you on again because you got some stories. So Nick's shaking his head like, oh yeah, we're coming back, man. We're gonna find out about Finding Nemo or something. We got all that stuff. But Shane, thank you for being with us, and Happy New Year, my friend. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you so much.
And now you guys listening, wow, how much fun you're gonna have, because Encouraging Prayers coming up next with James Banks, followed by the Masculine Journey starts here now at 12 o'clock here in Winston-Salem. And for many of you, you will get to hear Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare. It's time to man up at 12:30. So much truth coming at you on the Truth Network. You are awesome. You are an awesome guest. You are awesome. You're a great storyteller.
Is that true?
That I don't. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I've interviewed a lot of people.
I know you have. Did I just drop this?
Yeah, it's okay. It's really okay. It's the camera on the end that it's fine because I can see the ceiling with it.
Well, I apologize.
No worries. You didn't mean to do it.
Absolutely not.
That is so. You got to see your son. We didn't get to that story. How old is he now?
He was outside in the truck. So he was 6.
Oh, can I go meet him?
Yeah. He
He's
was
outside
6.
in the truck.
So this is what happened. So I wasn't always like Jesus, okay?
Right.
I really wasn't.
Neither was I.
I didn't murder nobody and I didn't
Right.
break into homes and people, but it definitely wasn't all that nice sometimes. You know?
Yeah, his son was out there, and the one that left him was his kid. I got to talk to his son. He was sitting out in the truck the whole time. Yeah. I don't know.